The strange sound came at 3:42 a.m. Earth Standard Time, deep in the underground complex of Global Space Command. Night Officer Pete Wilson was nearly dozing at his monitoring station when the computer alert jolted him awake. The signal was unlike anything in their database, a repeating pattern that pulsed with mathematical precision through what had always been empty static. Sir," Pete called over his shoulder. "You might want to see this." Commander Bill Hayes, a stocky man with 20 years in space communications, approached with a steaming cup of coffee. His eyes narrowed as he studied the waveform dancing across the screen. "Run it through all known filters," he ordered, suddenly wide awake. Pete's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Already did, sir. It's not coming from any Earth satellite or outpost. Signal origin is approximately 4.2 light-years away, near Proxima Centauri." Hayes set his coffee down untouched. "Get Admiral Jackson on the line. Now." Within 3 hours, the sprawling command center was fully staffed and buzzing with activity. The brightest minds in Earth's space program huddled around displays, arguing theories and running analyses. Admiral Mary Jackson stood at the center of it all, her weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the main screen. "It repeats exactly every 77 seconds," explained Dr. Rita Brown, the lead xenocommunications expert. "The pattern contains what we believe are mathematical constants followed by spatial coordinates. Sir, this is definitely not natural." "You're saying it's aliens?" Admiral Jackson asked bluntly. Dr. Brown nodded. "Yes, and based on signal strength and composition, they're using technology far beyond ours." The room fell silent. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. "There's something else," Dr. Brown continued. "The signal pattern suggests urgency. We believe it's a distress call." Admiral Jackson turned to the gathered experts. "If this is a cry for help, what exactly are they asking for?" The next day, after continuous analysis and emergency meetings with world leaders, they had their answer. The signal contained detailed information about a massive fleet of ships, enormous vessels carrying what appeared to be millions of beings. Their propulsion systems had failed catastrophically, leaving them stranded in a dangerous region of space. More disturbing were the secondary signals that Earth's improved monitoring stations began picking up. Aggressive transmissions from another alien force closing in on the stranded fleet. In the White House Situation Room, President Helen Martinez faced the assembled military and scientific advisors. "Let me understand this correctly," she said, her voice steadied despite the weight of the moment. "An alien civilization we've never met is asking for our help against another alien civilization that appears hostile. And they're both technologically superior to us." "That's the situation, Madam President," Admiral Jackson confirmed. "And what help could we possibly offer?" the President asked. Dr. Tom Miller, Chief Engineer of the Earth Space Fleet, stepped forward. "Their technical specifications show a propulsion system that failed due to radiation damage from passing through an uncharted nebula. We've been developing radiation-resistant materials for our Mars missions that could potentially help repair their systems. At tremendous risk to our own people," noted Defense Secretary Wilson. "Yes," Admiral Jackson acknowledged. "But if we do nothing, millions of refugees will die. And what happens when the hostile force finishes with them and discovers Earth next?" President Martinez walked to the window, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, an entire civilization waited to learn if humans would answer their call. She turned back to the room. "Prepare our best ships and crew. Humanity's first interstellar rescue mission begins now. Let's show the universe what we're made of." The decision was made. Within days, Earth would reach beyond its boundaries to help strangers among the stars, not knowing what awaited them in the darkness beyond. The massive hangar of Earth Space Command buzzed with activity. Workers in bright yellow safety vests guided heavy equipment across the polished floor. Sparks flew from welding torches as engineers made last-minute modifications to the 3 ships chosen for humanity's most daring mission. At the center stood the ESS Horizon, Earth's newest and largest rescue vessel. Next to it were the ESS Defender and ESS Guardian, converted military ships equipped with Earth's best weapons, just in case diplomacy failed. Admiral Jackson walked through the chaos, tablet in hand, checking off final preparations. She stopped beside a tall man with graying hair who was arguing with a group of technicians. "Dr. Miller, please tell me we're on schedule," she said. Tom Miller, Earth's leading propulsion expert, ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "We've loaded the radiation-resistant material, but we're still adapting our repair tools to work with the alien technology. It's like trying to fix a quantum computer with stone tools." "Do what you can," Jackson replied. "The alien fleet only has life support for another 3 weeks, and it takes us 10 days to reach them." Across the hangar, Commander Diane Lee was conducting final crew briefings. At 42, she was Earth's most experienced deep space captain and would lead the mission aboard the Horizon. "Each of you was chosen because you're the best in your field," she told the assembled crew of 50. "But nothing in your training prepared you for this. We're flying into unknown danger to save beings we've never met. If anyone wants to back out, now's the time." No one moved. Lee nodded, a small smile crossing her usually stern face. "Good. We launch at 600 tomorrow." That evening, the mission team gathered in the observation dome for a final meal on Earth. Through the glass ceiling, stars glittered against the dark sky. Somewhere out there, the fate of an entire civilization hung in balance. Dr. Jane Wilson, the mission's head xenobiologist, sat beside Dr. Miller. "I've studied theoretical alien biology my whole career," she said quietly. "I never thought I'd actually meet one." Miller nodded. "I know. 20 years designing engines to take humans to Mars, and now we're heading past our solar system to rescue aliens." At the head table, President Martinez stood to address the crew. The room fell silent. "When I was a child," she began, "I asked my father if we were alone in the universe. He told me the universe was too big for us to be the only ones looking up at the stars and wondering. Today we know he was right." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each crew member. "What you do tomorrow isn't just about saving lives. It's about showing who we are as a species. When faced with suffering, even alien suffering, humans help. That is our strength. That is our message to the stars." The next morning, families gathered at safe distance to watch the launch. Children sat on parents' shoulders, waving small flags. News crews broadcast to billions around the world. Inside the Horizon's bridge, Commander Lee strapped into her captain's chair. Her crew worked silently at their stations, each running final checks. "All systems go," reported First Officer Mark Green. "Communications ready," added Communications Officer Anna Kim. "Medical bay prepared," said Dr. Wilson over the intercom. Commander Lee activated the ship-wide communication system. "This is your captain speaking. We are about to attempt what no humans have done before. I can't promise we'll all return, but I can promise that what we do today will be remembered as long as humans look to the stars." She turned to her bridge crew. "Start ignition sequence." The massive engines hummed to life, vibrating through the hull. On screens throughout the ship, countdown numbers flashed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 3 brilliant flames lit up the morning sky as Earth's ships lifted off, accelerating upward until they were nothing but tiny points of light. Humanity's first interstellar rescue mission had begun. 10 days passed in the darkness between stars. On the bridge of the ESS Horizon, Commander Lee stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the main view screen. The ship's powerful sensors were finally detecting the alien fleet. "Magnify," she ordered. The screen zoomed in, revealing dozens of massive ships unlike anything humans had built. They were smooth, curved vessels that seemed to shimmer with a blue-green light. The largest was nearly 10 kilometers long. "My God," whispered First Officer Green. "It's a city in space." Dr. Wilson leaned forward. "Look at the design. No sharp edges, no visible weapons. Everything about them suggests a peaceful civilization. Commander Lee nodded. Let's hope so. Anna, open a communication channel using the translation algorithms we developed from their distress signal. Communications Officer Kim's fingers moved across her console. Channel open, Captain. Lee took a deep breath. This is Commander Diane Lee of the Earth Space Fleet vessel Horizon. We have received your distress call and come to offer assistance. For several long moments, only static answered them. Then the view screen flickered, and an image appeared that made the entire bridge crew gasp. The alien had blue skin that seemed to shimmer with tiny lights, like stars embedded in flesh. 4 long arms extended from a slender torso, and large, deep-set eyes studied them with unmistakable intelligence. Earth beings, the alien said, its voice translated by the computer into slightly stilted English. I am High Captain Thull of the Viridian Evacuation Fleet. Your arrival is unexpected. Lee stepped forward. We received your distress signal and came to help. Our ships carry materials that might repair your propulsion systems. The alien's expression was unreadable, but its voice held clear surprise. You traveled between stars to aid those you have never met. This is not common behavior among spacefaring species. It's who we are, Lee replied simply. Hours later, the human ships approached the massive alien fleet. Close up, they could see damage along the hulls, scorched metal and broken sections that told of a difficult journey. A small delegation from Earth, including Commander Lee, Dr. Miller, Dr. Wilson, and 2 security officers, prepared to board the main Viridian vessel. They stood in the airlock, checking their communication devices one last time. Remember, Lee instructed, we're guests here. Follow their lead and try not to make any movements that might be seen as threatening. The airlock door opened to reveal a vast, cathedral-like chamber. A group of Viridians waited, standing nearly 7 feet tall, their 4 arms held in what appeared to be a ceremonial position. High Captain Thull stepped forward. Up close, the alien was even more impressive. Its skin contained patterns that shifted like flowing water. Welcome to the lasting hope, Thull said. You are the first humans we have encountered. Dr. Wilson activated her translator. We're honored to meet you. May I ask why your fleet is traveling through space? A ripple passed through Thull's skin, which Dr. Wilson guessed might indicate emotion. Our homeworld began dying 50 Earth years ago. Our star became unstable. We built these ships to carry our remaining population, 23 million souls, to a new home. But passing through an unmarked radiation cloud damaged our propulsion systems. And the hostile force following you? Commander Lee asked. The Krell, Thull replied, a translator giving the name a harsh sound. They are scavengers who prey on vulnerable ships. They detected our disabled fleet 3 days ago and approached to strip our vessels and take our people as laborers. Dr. Miller stepped forward. How many days until they arrive? 5 of your Earth days, Thull answered. Can you truly help us in so little time? Commander Lee met the alien's gaze steadily. We're going to try. Humans are good at solving problems, especially when lives are at stake. As if to emphasize her words, a distant alarm sounded through the alien ship. That is our long-range detection system, Thull explained, 4 arms moving in agitation. The Krell have increased speed. They will arrive in 3 days, not 5. The humans exchanged glances. Their window for repairs had just gotten much smaller. Dr. Tom Miller stared at the massive engine room of the Viridian ship with a mixture of awe and confusion. The propulsion system towered 5 stories high, a complex network of glowing tubes and pulsing energy fields that seemed to defy the laws of physics as humans understood them. Beside him, the Viridian chief engineer, Mox, waved all 4 arms in a gesture of hopelessness. This is our main gravity drive, Mox explained through the translator. The radiation damaged the quantum field regulators. Without them, we cannot create the space-time bubble needed for movement. Miller walked slowly around the engine, studying each component. He had expected something advanced, But this was like showing stone tools to someone from the Bronze Age and asking for repairs. "Can you manufacture new regulators?" he asked. "Of course," Mox replied. "But the fabrication process takes 28 days. The Krell will arrive in 3. Commander Lee, watching from nearby, frowned. "Dr. Miller, any ideas?" Miller rubbed his chin, thinking. His team of engineers looked equally stumped. Earth's technology was at least a century behind what they were seeing. Then Miller noticed something. "These power conduits," he said, pointing to thick blue cables running along the floor. "What's their composition?" Mox explained the alien materials, which the translator struggled to convert into Earth terms. "And this radiation shielding," Miller continued, pointing to another section. As Mox answered more questions, a spark lit in Miller's eyes. He turned to his team. "I need everyone to forget everything they know about conventional engine design. These people think in terms of gravity manipulation, but we think in terms of electromagnetic fields." He pulled out his tablet and began sketching rapidly. "We can't fix their technology their way, but maybe we can fix it our way." Over the next 24 hours, the human engineering team worked nonstop. They converted their radiation-resistant materials into makeshift field stabilizers. Miller's plan wasn't to repair the alien quantum regulators, but to bypass them completely with a human design system that would channel the energy differently. The Viridian engineers watched skeptically as the humans constructed what must have seemed like primitive technology to them. "This cannot work," Mox told Commander Lee as they observed the work. "Your species only achieved space travel recently. Our gravity drives are based on science your people haven't discovered yet." Lee watched Miller directing his team with fierce concentration. "Maybe. But humans have something special. We think differently. When we can't go through a problem, we go around it." By the end of the second day, Miller's team had constructed their bypass system. It looked ugly and makeshift next to the elegant Viridian technology, a patchwork of Earth materials and repurposed alien components. "It's ready for testing," Miller announced, wiping sweat from his forehead. "But I should warn everyone. This could either work or blow a hole in the side of the ship." High Captain Thull had joined them by this time, along with other Viridian leaders. "Your confidence is not reassuring, human engineer." Miller smiled tiredly. "Oh, that's just how we talk before trying something new. Deep down, I'm about 70% sure this will work." 70%. Mox's skin flickered with what might have been alarm. "That's actually quite high for an untested human invention," Commander Lee explained. The moment of truth came. The engineering team cleared the test area. Miller connected the final components and stepped back, activating bypass in 3, 2, 1. He pressed the control pad. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low hum began, rising in pitch and volume. The Viridian indicators flickered, then glowed steady blue. Mox rushed to check the readings, all 4 arms moving in obvious excitement. "Impossible. The field is stabilizing. How did you do this with such primitive materials?" Miller grinned. "We didn't try to fix your quantum field regulators. We created an electromagnetic conversion system that redirects the energy flow around the damaged components. It's like building a detour around a broken bridge." High Captain Thull approached Miller. "This is only a test on one engine section. Can you replicate this for all our ships in the time remaining?" Miller looked at his exhausted team, who nodded back at him with determined faces. "We'll need every engineer you have, and we'll be working right up until the last minute," he said. "But yes, Captain, we can do this." For the first time, hope spread through the Viridian command. They had underestimated the strange 2-armed beings from Earth. The warning alarm blared through every ship in the fleet. Commander Lee rushed to the bridge of the horizon, where Officer Kim was monitoring long-range sensors. "They're early," Kim said, her face tight with worry. "Krell ships will arrive in 20 minutes. Lee activated the ship-wide communication system. All personnel, battle stations. Dr. Miller, what's the status on the repairs?" Miller's voice came through, strained with exhaustion. "We fixed the main ships, but 5 of the smaller vessels still need work. We need another hour at least." "You don't have an hour," Lee replied grimly. "Get back to our ships now. We'll buy you the time." Outside, against the backdrop of stars, dark shapes appeared. The Krell attack force. Their ships were angular and predatory, covered in what looked like metallic scales. The lead vessel was nearly twice the size of the Horizon, with smaller ships flanking it in attack formation. Admiral Jackson's face appeared on the communication screen. "Commander, I'm taking command of our defense. The Defender and Guardian will move to intercept. Keep the Horizon back to protect the civilian ships." "Understood, Admiral," Lee replied. "But our weapons are significantly outmatched." "Then we'll have to be smarter," Jackson said. "Humans have been winning against superior forces since we figured out how to sharpen sticks. Let's show these Krell what that means." The Krell ships approached with military precision. A communication signal came through, automatically translated by the systems Viridian engineers had helped install. A harsh voice filled the bridge. "Disabled fleet, this is Krell Command. Your vessels and occupants are now property of the Krell Dominion. Resistance will result in destruction." Admiral Jackson's reply was calm. "This is Admiral Mary Jackson of Earth Space Fleet. The Viridian fleet is under our protection. Withdraw immediately." There was a pause, then what might have been laughter. "Earth vessels, our scans show your primitive weapons pose no threat. Remove yourselves or be destroyed with the others." Jackson cut the transmission. Her next words went only to the Earth ships. "Plan Thermopylae. Now." The 2 Earth military vessels suddenly accelerated directly toward the Krell formation. It was a move so unexpected that the Krell ships hesitated, breaking their perfect formation. "They're confused," Officer Green observed. "They expected us to retreat, not attack." The smaller Earth vessels darted between the massive Krell ships, firing their weapons at point-blank range at engine sections and weapon ports. They couldn't destroy the Krell vessels, but they could sting them like angry wasps, disrupting their coordinated attack. On the Viridian command ship, High Captain Thole watched in astonishment. "Your ships cannot win this battle. Why do they sacrifice themselves?" Commander Lee's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. "To give your people a chance to live." The Krell recovered quickly. Energy beams lashed out, striking the ESS Guardian. The ship's shields failed, and its port side erupted in flames. Yet it continued fighting, maneuvering impossibly close to the Krell vessels, where their main weapons couldn't target effectively. "The Guardian is taking heavy damage," reported Officer Kim. "Their life support is failing." Before Lee could respond, 3 Viridian military vessels suddenly moved forward, joining the battle alongside the Earth ships. Their weapons were more advanced, but had been damaged in their long journey. "We will not allow your people to fight alone," Thole said simply. For 20 crucial minutes, the combined forces held the Krell at bay. The Guardian lost power and drifted, its crew evacuating in emergency pods. The Defender's shields were failing, but behind them, Miller and his team worked frantically on the final civilian ships. Admiral Jackson's voice came through, her transmission breaking up through static. "Commander Lee, get those engines online. We can't hold them much longer." As if to emphasize her words, a massive explosion shook the battlefield. The Defender had rammed a Krell cruiser, taking it out of the fight at the cost of the Earth ship. "Miller to bridge," came the engineer's voice. "All Viridian engines are operational. They can move now." Lee turned to Thole. "Captain, your fleet needs to leave immediately. Head for these coordinates." She transmitted the location of a nearby star system, where the Viridians could regroup safely. Thole's skin rippled with emotion. "What about your remaining ships? Your people?" Lee looked at the battle raging outside, where Admiral Jackson's command vessel now stood alone against the Krell. "We'll follow when we can. Now go." The massive Viridian ships began to move, their newly repaired engines creating shimmering distortion fields around them as they prepared to leave the battle zone. The Krell, realizing their prey was escaping, surged forward in fury. The bridge of Admiral Jackson's command ship shook violently as another Krell blast struck their failing shields. Warning lights flashed across every control panel, and the acrid smell of burning electronics filled the air. "Shields at 12%, reported her tactical officer, voice steady despite the chaos. "2 more hits and we're done." Jackson watched the main view screen, where the massive Viridian refugee ships were slowly moving away, their new engines creating beautiful ripples in space as they powered up. They needed just a few more minutes to reach safe distance for full acceleration. "How many Krell ships remain?" she asked. 15, Admiral, including their command vessel. Jackson studied the tactical display. The Krell had recognized the human strategy now and were forming a blockade to prevent the civilian ships from escaping. Their command ship, nearly 3 times the size of Jackson's vessel, directed the operation from the center of the formation. She made her decision. Set course directly for the Krell command ship. Full power to forward shields, divert life support power if needed. Her bridge crew exchanged glances but followed orders without question. "Admiral," said Commander Lee over the communication link from the horizon, "what are you doing?" "Creating a door," Jackson replied calmly. "Commander, as soon as we make our move, get those civilian ships through the gap and protect their escape with everything you've got." Lee understood immediately. "Admiral, there must be another way." "There isn't. Not with the time we have." Jackson's voice softened slightly. "The Horizon is the only human ship with enough speed left to escort them to safety. Make it count." Before Lee could protest further, Jackson's ship surged forward, engines burning beyond safe limits. The vessel shuddered under the strain as it accelerated directly toward the massive Krell command ship. Aboard the Horizon, Dr. Miller watched the tactical screen in disbelief. "She's going to ram them." Commander Lee's face showed grief, but her voice remained strong. "All crew to emergency stations. Prepare to move alongside the Viridian fleet the moment that gap opens. Weapons, target any Krell ship that tries to pursue." On the Viridian command vessel, High Captain Thol and other alien leaders watched in shocked silence as the human ship hurtled toward certain destruction. "Your admiral sacrifices herself for strangers," Thol said quietly. "That's what humans do when it matters," Lee replied. The Krell realized Admiral Jackson's intention too late. Their massive command ship tried to maneuver away, but Jackson's helmsman matched their every move, staying on collision course. In her final moments, Admiral Jackson stood tall on her bridge. "It has been my honor to serve with all of you," she told her crew. Then she opened a channel to the Krell ship. "Consider this humanity's greeting card," she said. The impact was blinding. Jackson's ship, its engines deliberately overloaded to maximize damage, struck the Krell command vessel midships. The explosion tore through both vessels, creating a spectacular blast that temporarily blinded sensors across the battlefield. When visibility returned, a gaping hole appeared in the Krell formation. Their command structure destroyed, the remaining ships fell into disarray. "Now," Commander Lee ordered, "full power." The Horizon accelerated alongside the Viridian fleet. Behind them, the remaining Krell vessels regrouped and began pursuit, but they had lost precious minutes. The civilian ships need 3 more minutes at their current acceleration to reach jump point, Officer Green reported. "We might not have 3 minutes," Lee replied as the tactical display showed 5 Krell warships closing fast. Suddenly, a transmission came from the Viridian military vessels that had joined the fight earlier. "Human friends, we will cover your retreat," said a Viridian commander. "Our ships are damaged beyond repair already. We can delay them." Before Lee could respond, the 3 remaining Viridian military vessels turned back, placing themselves between the refugee fleet and the pursuing Krell. The Horizon shook as enemy fire struck its rear shields, Miller and his team worked desperately to keep the engines running beyond their design limits. 1 minute to jump point, Green announced. On the view screen, they saw the last Viridian defender explode under concentrated Krell fire. 3 Krell ships broke through, gaining rapidly. 30 seconds. The Horizon's shields failed completely. A hit rocked the ship, sending crew members flying across the bridge. Emergency systems activated, sealing off damaged sections. 10 seconds. The first civilian ships began disappearing into flashes of light as their gravity drives activated fully. The massive vessels vanished one after another, millions of refugees escaping to safety. Just as the final civilian ship jumped, a direct hit crippled the Horizon's port engine. The ship spun wildly, alarms blaring throughout. When they stabilized, they saw the Krell had broken off pursuit, unwilling to follow into unknown space. Against impossible odds, the Viridian refugees had escaped, but the cost had been extraordinarily high. 3 weeks later, the damaged ESS Horizon limped back toward Earth. Commander Lee stood at the viewport, watching as the blue planet came into view. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly, faces showing a mix of grief and pride. Only 37 of the original 50 crew members had survived. The ship's hull bore massive scars from Krell weapons. One engine was completely dead, the other operating at minimal capacity. They had barely made it home. Beside the Horizon flew a single Viridian vessel, a diplomatic ship that High Captain Thull had insisted return with the humans. The rest of the Viridian fleet had reached the safe coordinates and were establishing a temporary colony. "Commander," Officer Kim called out, "we're receiving transmissions from Earth. Every channel is broadcasting the same message. Welcome home, heroes." Lee turned away from the viewport, her eyes damp. "Put it on speakers." The bridge filled with voices, people from around the world sending messages of pride and welcome. Among them came President Martinez's official communication. "Commander Lee, your mission has forever changed humanity's place in the universe. You have shown us all what it means to be human at our best." As they entered Earth orbit, they saw something unexpected. Thousands of lights moving across Earth's night side. Lee magnified the image to reveal boats, cars, and even people carrying torches and flashlights, visible from space as a beautiful display of welcome. The landing was broadcast worldwide. When the Horizon's hatch finally opened at the Global Space Command base, Lee led her surviving crew down the ramp. They walked slowly, many injured, all exhausted, but standing tall. President Martinez waited at the bottom with other world leaders. Behind them stood the families of those who had returned, and those who never would. After the formal greetings, High Captain Thull emerged from the Viridian ship. The crowd fell silent at the sight of the tall blue alien with 4 arms. This was humanity's first view of the beings their people had died to save. Thull walked forward until standing directly before the assembled human leaders. Then, in a gesture that had been carefully explained beforehand, the alien slowly bent forward in a deep bow. "People of Earth," Thull said, the translator conveying words to millions watching worldwide. "We came to your solar system as strangers in desperate need. You sent your bravest to help us without hesitation. Many gave their lives so that 23 million of our people might live." Thull straightened to full height again. "In all our travels through space, meeting many civilizations, we have never encountered this level of sacrifice for strangers. The universe can be cold and hostile, as the Krell proved. But you humans have shown us that there is also warmth and courage among the stars." President Martinez stepped forward. "What will your people do now, Captain Thull?" "We will continue our journey to find a new home," Thull replied. "But first, we wish to offer something in return for your help." 4 Viridians emerged from their ship carrying a large container. They set it before the human leaders and opened it to reveal technology unlike anything seen on Earth: medical devices, power systems, and data storage units. "This is knowledge that will advance your civilization by decades," Thull explained. "Medical cures, clean energy, and faster ships. It is only a small payment on a debt we can never fully repay. Later that evening, after the formal ceremonies ended, Commander Lee sat alone in the memorial garden hastily built to honor those lost in the mission. 53 stone markers represented each human who never returned. She heard footsteps and looked up to see Dr. Miller approaching. The engineer had lost his right arm in the final battle, now replaced with a basic prosthetic. "I just got word," he said, sitting beside her. "The Viridians have offered to help improve our space travel capabilities. They say humans deserve to join them among the stars as equals." Lee nodded, looking up at the night sky. Admiral Jackson would be proud. "The strangest thing," Miller continued, "is what High Captain Thole told me in private. The Viridians have contacted other peaceful species in nearby systems. They're forming what they're calling an alliance of worlds, and they want Earth to be a founding member." "Why us?" Lee asked. "We're centuries behind them technologically." Miller smiled. Thole said it wasn't about technology. They believe humanity has something rare in the universe, the willingness to risk everything to help others, even strangers. They think that's exactly what's needed out there. Lee touched one of the memorial stones gently. "Then we'll make sure their sacrifice continues to mean something." Above them, stars glittered in the night sky, no longer distant and unreachable, but filled with new friends, new challenges, and a future where humanity would take its place among the stars not just as explorers, but as guardians of something precious. Compassion that crossed the boundaries of worlds.